probably 59.
Okay, yeah, on the new contract.
Yeah, I was
Could
actually
be
just reading through their tab
six.
six to make sure it doesn't correlate the pricing. So far, it doesn't, it's just who's where and what they're doing.
You're right, it's the time, okay?
You're absolutely correct.
All right, let's call the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, December, what, the 18th? December 4th. Okay. April.
All right.
Everything's a trick with you, isn't it? All right, welcome everyone. Let's stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Linda, do you want to do your?
I do. In front of the council members are lighthouses, and it says Mexico Beach 2018 Strong, and they were made by the Port St. Joe Garden Club and given to us by, it says, thank you for many dedicated hours of work and commitment to rebuild our beautiful city. You are appreciated by many. These are from Bill and Linda Hamilton. We plan to rebuild in Mexico Beach as we currently reside in Port St. Joe Beach. So thank you to the
Wow.
Hamiltons.
Thank you very much, absolutely. Any other council member have anything? All right, moving on to the agenda. SBA, you're up.
Sir, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am basically here just to provide an update on our operations. As most of you probably know, our physical loan deadline was yesterday. So that means if at this point someone is interested in a physical disaster loan application, he or she would need to submit a letter justifying why they missed the deadline. Extenuating circumstances, saying, I couldn't go to the disaster center because, and then the decision gets taken in the loan processing center for approval and so forth. We still have the economic injury loans available, so I would ask you to please pass on the message that that loan, the deadline is July 11th. We give more time to that because a lot of times businesses would need a little bit of time to see, okay, can I prove that I have lowered sales? This is basically, the business has lowered sales, the nonprofit has lower donations, interest rate may be as low as 3.675% for businesses. For nonprofits, it can be as low as 2.5%, with the cap being $2 million. There's no minimum, but the cap is $2 million. So if any business can prove that, hey, I don't have, which I've heard a lot of cases, that I don't have the sales, I would ask them to please consider it. No loan applications whatsoever. I was just speaking to the mayor, our disaster recovery centers are still operational. The one at Port St. Joe in Gulf Coast State College, that's gonna reopen come Thursday. Hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sundays from noon to 5. And the one at Weequahichka Public Library, that's the other one, if that's more convenient for anyone here. That's operational like right now, so same hours as before. And I'd just like to give an update on what we've done. Thus far in Bay County, we've approved more than 6,400 loans worth $338.5 million. And this includes more than 5,900 homes for $294.8 million, 436 businesses for $39.5 million, and 66 economic injury loans for $4.1 million. So the bulk of our operations have ended, but we're still here. In case anybody still wants that economic injury loan, please pass on the message. I hope I was able to be of just a little bit of help to anybody here, and I wish everyone a successful recovery. Be happy to answer any questions from the group at the time.
I have a question, Tony. Why was the office closed yesterday when the deadline was yesterday?
They asked us to leave. They're having a nursing pinning ceremony at Gulf Coast State College,
For
so
3 days?
I wouldn't be sure about the operational, as far as I understand, the ceremony's today, but they asked us, because it's their space we're occupying, right? They asked us to vacate from Monday through
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yes, ma'am. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. Tanya, we'll go just defer to you.
Okay, first one, I'm gonna let Dean explained, it's the Dewberry's General Engineering Task Order. When we awarded the RFQ to Dewberry, so this first task order is just the general catch-all, all the little things they do, so I'll let you kinda go through that.
Right, so this would be similar to the one that we did at the beginning, for emergency services, but this would carry on forward, kind of miscellaneous, tasks that don't fall under a specific task order that come up daily, including grant funding, writing grant applications, et cetera, for non-FEMA funded grants, whether that be the state or others. So it's kind of a catch-all miscellaneous, again, hourly not to exceed based on our current contract with a not to exceed amount of 50,000. We did not exceed that on the previous one that you all had, approved just for the emergency time period of 3 months. So I don't expect we would exceed it on this one, but it's just to kind of catch anything that's not currently covered under a task order specifically.
How did we address the other engineering company that we approved? In terms of, did we discuss with him a contract for
We did.
services?
We are meeting with them the 7th of January.
Okay.
We called them, they're coming out the 7th and sit down with us and.
All right, so this is just the general, I don't know if you call it day-to-day, but we'll use that term for lack of a better term, operations that Dewberry has been performing. This needs approval, correct? I mean, this is all right, Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second to accept the task, general task order for engineering services. Questions? Anyone? Comments? Is there any opposition? Let the record reflect, pass 5-0. All right,
The next one is the sewer task order, and this is the work to do the smoke testing, basically isolate all of our problems and evaluate. Dina, you wanna give more?
This one is really an assessment of the entire sewer system. So it will be clean out. We have a lot of manholes and lift stations and pipes that are full of sediment and sand. So this includes cleaning those out, coming back and doing video inspection to determine where we have pipes that are disjointed and need repair. Also to locate all of our laterals, and this is citywide. It also includes smoke testing, and that will kind of fill in the gaps. So the video inspection, we can see the mains. The smoke testing lets us see it can't go up into the laterals, so between the main and the houses. So smoke testing will then help us figure out where there are leaks between mains and houses and identify those, because we know we have a significant inflow and infiltration issue right now where we have water coming into our sewer that we don't want coming in. So this will allow us to inspect all of that, identify it, then compile all that data and come up with citywide biddable documents that we can then put out for construction, for repairs, rehabilitation, whether it be slip lining. We'll make those recommendations on how to address it.
The big reason for this was for the month of October, the city paid for 4.4 million gallons from Bay County, but we treated 9.2 million. So we're paying a lot of money to treat rainwater essentially.
And this also covers, there are sections of the sewer on the south side of 98 where it's just gone. So this will cover survey, design, and permitting to put that back as well.
and also on the north side, from by Gulf Food.
Yeah,
Yes,
this is
section in there.
citywide, yes. Yep.
All right, so, is that just for review? I mean, or is that,
We need a- we need
we're
a-
ready to issue?
We're ready to start today. So yes, sir.
And that one's got.
Philip, you always are, you're eager, I like that. Even after 64 days, you're eager, bless you for that. All right, we sort of heard the overview, Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to issue that. Is there any questions, comments from anyone? Again, is there any opposition? Motion carries 5-0. All right,
Okay, stormwater RFP. We don't have an RFP, ready. What we wanted to tell you today is we started the work clearing out the canals and storm ditches. We started on that yesterday. We have, we're still trying to get right of entry from property owners that live along the storm ditch system. We have most of those, we just have, several left. But we'll be cleaning out all the storm ditches, getting the debris out of the canals and waterways, and then that's just getting the debris out. Then we'll have to come back later. They've gotta be, we'll put out a bid to recontour, get all the sediment out, clean those out, and, get them moving. Did you have anything to add to that?
I can talk a little bit more about that. We started the section of ditch in between, on the backside of 12th and 13th Street. We went ahead and cleaned that out. That was completely dammed off. Yesterday, Dean and I spent near about the whole day walking through the woods, crawling up trees and everything else, getting the best idea and visual of the shape that our creeks and stuff in, especially along the top side of 15th Street through the woods there. Obviously, we all know that they're in bad shape. We came across another issue that we think is hindering a lot of the flow, but it's not in Mexico Beach. It's in the unincorporated Bay County portion of it. So we're gonna look at what we can do to try to fix that. So to
Where's
speak.
that ditch?
If you,
It's just the one that goes,
it's on the top side of, you got Bubba Harmon's property there, you see the two ponds?
Mm-hmm.
If you follow that swamp around, that's where a lot of that water that's coming across 386 and has got that property flooded around the corner of 386 and 15th Street. A lot of that water's trying to just bypass that and go on up back around 386 and go out through the woods. Well, there's a driveway or a road or whatever you want to call it with what we were told is an 8-inch pipe you're trying to shove, Lord only knows how much water through an 8-inch pipe. So if we can look at helping out and upsizing that pipe to get that to flow a lot better, I think that's what we need to do. But then it also forks off to the left and comes back towards the west, and it's slammed full of trees and not a whole lot of C&D back there, but just a lot of vegetation that's got a lot of choke points. And then in other areas we have had sediment that has washed into the creek that have caused bottlenecks. So it's a large task ahead of us, but we do know where the issues are. Now, in order to fix those issues, we have to get ROEs signed and permission from all the property owners in order to get back in there and start cleaning all this out properly. The reason that we went ahead and jumped on 13th and 12th, that area there, is because that with the complete damming of that ditch and with the stuff that was, it ties directly to the 8th Street Canal, which obviously everybody knows ties directly to the Gulf of Mexico. That was an imminent threat to the public health and safety of this community, so we went ahead and cleaned that one out. But the rest of them, we're gonna have to get the ROEs to move forward.
Well, can the imminent threat be extended to that area that's not in our city? If it affects our water?
I do not know how that works right now off the top of my head when you go outside of the city limits or outside of our jurisdiction, so to speak. But we're looking into that.
We're gonna have to work with the county on that.
The biggest issue is, sorry.
Go ahead.
The biggest issue that we would face right now if we were to go in there and pop the cork, so to speak, we couldn't stop it, we couldn't control it, and it would cause a bigger issue. But if we can get that water to go down enough for us to come in there and cut it out and then put a pipe in there properly, then that's what we're hoping to do.
Okay.
This is all temporary measures to get it cleaned out. We'll have a long-term plan. We'll put out an RFP, hopefully sometime in January, late January, to recontour and get all the sediment and muck out.
So this one's not ready to go?
No, sir.
Not ready to go. Just want to give everybody an
Get
update, 'cause that
everybody updated
stormwater's
where we're
a
at.
big concern right now.
Yeah, cause Thursday, if the weather, if he's even 50% right, we could be looking at another 4 inches of rain.
Yes, sir.
Well, Mary out there that, on corner 15th, I saw her canoeing.
She has a
And a
lake.
lot of other places, not, I mean, that's,
I have water view now again.
Okay, any questions on the stormwater? Anyone? Doesn't like y'all not to have anything to say. Okay. All right, moving on, number 5.
Lift station,
Lift station panels are out for bid. Bids are due January 2nd. We will have all that information at that time, and obviously we'll award that bid at that time. But everything is out, so, we'll get that ball as soon as the 2nd gets here. We're ready to move now. So as soon as that gets here, we'll get that awarded, and we'll get that order made, and we'll kick this can on down the road some more
Now, that's the panels,
for every lift
we
station.
got 6 paid for.
Yes, sir.
And we're hoping to get some more paid for, last time we talked.
Hoping, but it's not looking like that's gonna happen.
Are we gonna need a
Of course
special
not.
meeting? Since it's January 2nd, do we need a special meeting?
We'll do it on the
I don't know
7th.
how
we're
that
gonna
falls.
do it on the 7th, we won't be prepared, we've gotta go
Yeah,
through
they
this.
gotta have, how many panels are we looking at?
18 altogether.
18.
Or 18 left, I should say. Now, it's important to note that, let's say that we get through this task order here, and we get everything clean, and we do have a section of line that is fine, and we could put back into service, we just don't have a panel for that station. As a temporary, fix, I don't know why it took me that long to come up with that, but as a temporary fix, we can still run that off a bypass pump, so we could provide service to those people.
At one point, we had some easement issues. Are those on,
The only easement that we were concerned about was the one on Circle Drive, because for some reason or another, it cuts through private property. But I think we've got all that figured out now.
okay, there's only one?
That's the only one that I know of.
Okay. But we check that now, before we go put those new ones in, please do, check the location of them to ensure, I was thinking we had more than one easement issue. But we may not, I'm just saying.
That's the only one that I know. The only thing that I can see coming up in the future as far as panels are concerned that's gonna be an issue is when we get our flood maps and we look at elevating these things up, those panels that are sitting in front of these very nice homes, I am fully aware and fully expecting, somebody's not gonna walk out the door and see a 12-foot panel. I'm not saying 12 feet, but, an elevated panel there in their yard. So we're already working on different solutions on how to address that when that comes up, because I know it's gonna come up, but
In their right of way.
in their right of way.
Big difference.
Keyword.
Remember the sidewalk. Okay, yeah, I agree, that, whatever you're working on, I'm sure it'll suit everybody to a T. All right, lift stations, any comments on lift stations? Miscellaneous.
Okay, I'll start with financials. Adrian and I met with SunTrust, to assist with some interim funding to get us through until we get our reimbursements back from FEMA and the state. We're working on a business case that we should have completed by Friday, to get over to SunTrust, so keep your fingers crossed. And we're asking for 60 to 65 million. Tide us over, so we'll bring that, when we know that they're interested, we'll bring it back to you. You guys know we went through and took anything non-essential out of the budget. By February, we should have a better idea of where we stand on some other things with budget, so we'll probably be bringing a budget before you guys in February to amend. So just keep that on your radar. Substantial damage estimate process, that is complete. We are now working through appeals. They're kind of tapering off. Most people who had appeals have already called us or reached out to us. The deadline for appealing your substantial damage estimate is January 31st. It's a painless process, so if you are concerned, I know it's a scary letter when it came out, but it's a, kind of a FEMA standard letter, but come see us and we can help you work through that. Right of entry process, we've started the right of entry process, well, we've started collecting the forms for right of entry. We have about 58 property owners so far who've asked us to clear their debris. If you're uninsured and you need help clearing the debris off your property, those forms, we have some out here in the lobby with the instructions, they're also on the city's website. So please let us know if you need help, clearing that debris off your property. Demolition, we started, demolishing some of the city buildings this week. The Civic Center's gone, I think the Welcome Center, soon the police department, so we're trying to get those lots cleaned up. We'll also begin, demolition of private property as soon as FEMA gives us the approval, and how that works is I have a letter ready to go, and I just wanna get the approval of the council today that you want us to do private property demolition for uninsured homes. And then the process, we'll send the letter, FEMA will come out, we'll have to collect the addresses where we're gonna be doing that demolition. FEMA will have to do a site inspection of all of those, properties, and then they'll give us the approval to demolish those. So that's gonna take a little bit longer than right of entry, but I do need, approval from you guys today to send that letter if you want us to do that, demolition,
Who will you send that to?
FEMA.
Oh, send the letter to FEMA, not to the property owner.
To FEMA to get the approval to start
To
that.
start that. Okay, make a motion?
So moved.
Second for the non-insured people.
Yes.
Yeah, second.
Have a motion second. Any questions or comments from anyone?
I don't know.
Yeah,
How are you gonna prove people are insured or not insured?
Well, we're letting our consultants handle that, but we're, you can't really show that you don't have insurance if you don't have it, right?
Right.
So there's you have to sign a waiver, a legal document
They can lie,
attesting.
like the guy behind me who already got his insurance check.
I-
I refuse us to clean up.
You know, the process is for honest people, but,
Well, he's not.
hopefully.
What is the motion?
To FEMA for
Approve the demolition of
demolition for non-insured people, residents.
You will begin to see FEMA RVs throughout town for individuals who were approved for a FEMA RV.
Did we vote on that?
No.
Should we,
We
before we
did.
move on?
Yeah, we
We did vote.
Didn't vote yet.
Oh, that's right, you did.
We didn't have vote.
I mentioned.
okay, we have a motion and a second to send the letter to FEMA on the uninsured properties for debris removal and demolition. All right, we have a motion second. Any other, I see another hand?
So the demolition, is that gonna be for uninsured and insured,
Just
or just
uninsured.
uninsured?
You can't do insurance.
Okay. Any opposition to that motion? Let it reflect 5 votes to vote.
Thank you. So back to the RV, so you'll see RVs, FEMA RVs. If you're getting a FEMA RV, you still have to come up here and get your permit. We'll put a sticker on your RV, and remember that, you have, as soon as, within 30 days of the moratorium being lifted, you need to apply for your building permit to rebuild. Again, you may not know what you're gonna be rebuilding to, but just get the process started at that point. Trailers, FEMA trailers, you may also see some of those coming into Rustic Sands and or Angela Estates. Those are the two areas we approved those, so you may see those coming in. For people who've been waiting on a FEMA, they call it a travel trailer RV or a mobile home, they were holding off until the council adopted that ordinance last Tuesday, the final adoption. So if you've been waiting on one, you should see it moving quickly now. And the last thing I had is our vision work that we're gonna be holding the town hall meetings for. We're gonna start that in early February. If you are interested in participating on, we're calling it our research teams, basically, we're gonna start with our 2003 vision document and update that. And we need individuals who have experience in certain areas. If you're interested in helping us with beach renourishment, sidewalks, signage, anything that you're interested in and you wanna be a part of it, you can send me an email, or give me a call, or just send me a text and let me know, and we're starting to collect those names. And then we'll be back in touch to talk to individuals, and we wanna get as many people in the community on board to help us with that as possible. So we wanna hear from you, so be thinking about that if anyone's interested in participating. And that will be work that we will do to get us ready for the town hall meetings. Okay, that's it, thank you.
Did you want to address the debris contract, the
Yeah.
additional rates?
I don't
It's
have
both
that
this page,
copy,
but-
just this one page.
but
You guys
This,
have,
this is what was anticipated, that's the change.
you guys had already approved Garrison's, RFP and the pricing in the RFP, but we had a few additional items that were not included in the RFP that we need to run by you before we sign that contract. White goods, from the waterway and unimproved property, $250 each, for refrigerators, freezers, things containing Freon that have to be decommissioned. Washing machines, dryers, non-Freon appliances, $150. And then for private property debris removal, which is the right of entry process, for C&D debris, it's $16.91 per cubic yard, vegetation, $11.91 per cubic yard. And then the site management, and separation of the goods at the DDMS site, it's $4 per cubic yard. And then for our waterways, marsh grass, right of way to the disposal site, it's $18 per cubic yard. And marsh grass waterways to the DDMS is $28 per cubic yard. We just wanna make sure, if you wanna.
Yeah, the other background, these are services that, if you read what we requested, you could tell we wanted them. We didn't have them priced out. So these are the prices that the contract provided. Our FEMA consultants have reviewed them, it's totally reasonable. And we anticipate being reimbursed eventually on this work.
FEMA will reimburse the residents? Who?
No, the city's doing all this work.
Yeah. Yeah. And charging us, the city's I'm a little confused there.
The debris hauler charges us for the work. We apply to FEMA for reimbursement, we get reimbursement.
You, the homeowner, is not being charged.
Homeowner is out of the picture.
They're
No,
gonna get a check.
all my wet goods are gone anyway, so.
Well, why wasn't that in the RFP?
There were just a couple items that just weren't fully considered. It's the same price structure that was used by Bay County and the other cities here.
But why wasn't it in the RFP?
I think it was included in the RFP, we just didn't have a line item in the price schedule to break those items out as specific line items with the price. The
Yeah.
scope included it.
Correct.
I'm sorry, that's just not satisfactory answer. Why wasn't it in the RFP? I gotta understand that.
It
I
was,
mean, those prices, if we're gonna put out an RFP, that's
Well,
what it's for.
for instance, I think the white goods were in the RFP, but not separately for pulling it out of a ditch or canal.
it's the waterway debris removal, it wasn't specifically priced out on the price list.
Well, but you said white goods, I mean, there was a whole list of things there that.
But it's from the waterways. It's the stuff
Oh,
we're pulling from the waterways.
It's from the waterways, it's not from not from the street removal.
Correct.
Yeah,
And it was covered in the scope of work in the RFP, it just wasn't itemized separately, and we have to itemize.
Well, for me, I need some assurances that somebody's looked at that handling it this way as just sort of like an addendum, if you wanna call it that, is that Atkins has looked at this, they're not here today, but somebody has approved.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
There you
looked
are.
at it.
Okay.
Here,
Where'd you slip in?
as long as, FEMA's literally the scope of work's not changing, and it was clearly outlined in the RFP what the scope of work was, which included waterway, it's just the line items weren't broken down by that, so, as long as the scope of work is not changing, and we compared the cost to Gulf County DOT rates around what, the contractor gave us, and those are around the same cost, so, they're reasonable costs.
But shouldn't it have been in the RFP?
It would have been better if it was, but it's, given it was in the scope of work, and that we have verified that they're reasonable costs, that's all that FEMA will look at.
And I think you don't wanna waste any more time with this, even though it's, I mean, that's
Who's
your
wasting?
responsibility to make sure it's current,
Right.
cost-wise.
And we're not adding anything to it, we're just expanding what was
We just
written.
wanna make sure, yeah.
Okay.
Essentially. And just want, we actually used, I think it was Bay County's RFP
For the most part.
for the most part, so.
What it is, we got pricing through the RFP process for water road removal. We just didn't break it down based on where you're pulling out. And what is typical is white goods are at a higher price point because you can't just toss them in a regular landfill. So for instance, for right-of-way removal, with dry land stuff, we did ask for different pricing for vegetative, construction demolition, and white goods. And the white goods are more expensive line item. So what the contractor told us, and we were agreeable to, is there should be a different line item for the waterway removal of white goods, because apparently there are a lot of them.
And it's expensive to get equipment down there and to pull it out, without tearing up.
And you say again, you have looked at the price schedule?
Yes, I have, and I verified it with Gulf County's rates and DOT's rates, and they're all reasonable within the same rate.
But the alternative is we could tell them, no, that price in the RFP proposal is for everything and anything that might be in that ditch. We could try that approach, but what they requested from us seemed reasonable.
Well, I may be the only one that's, I don't know, did I hear you say you didn't wanna waste any more time on it?
No, I think we didn't want to slow down the process. And if it met with her approval and her approval, then let's move on. Because,
Now, the alternative is rebidding it, which we know the time frame that's gonna take at
Yeah.
this point.
so that was gonna slow the process down. And likely, it wouldn't change things anyway if we went through the routine again.
Well, I want it to be noted, at least for, I want it to be noted, that, I mean, as you just said, it would've been better had it been in the RFP, it would've been cleaner, it would've been neater.
Correct.
I think that's,
But it's common.
we're talking about a lot of money here, and if you wanna just move on, that's, I mean, that's
Well, I
fine.
think we're gonna get reimbursed for this.
Well, if we check with FEMA and we check the rates and it's with other counties around and they've indicated it will be reimbursed as if it was originally in the contract, I don't have a problem.
All right, Chair will entertain a motion. That's, I guess, we're calling that an addendum to the RFP for waterway removal, is that correct?
I think the best thing to do would be to, because we actually are, I think we haven't actually signed the contract, just approve the contract with those additional rates.
Okay,
The remainder of the contract is exactly what you expect it to be.
say that again, please.
The remainder of the contract is exactly what you would have expected to be. It's the rates provided through the RFP and standard looking contract.
So I make a motion that we accept the new, rates for the specific waterway items that will be removed. Does that sound okay, Nick?
Say that again.
I make a motion that we accept the new rates for the waterway items that will be removed, or the items that will be removed from the waterway,
And approve them.
and approve the contract.
It's a little bit more than just water rates.
Okay,
It's the additional pricing
okay,
presented during the meeting as well as the contract.
okay. You got that, Adrian, I make a motion for that.
Second.
Comments, questions? Call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes,
Mayor Kathy?
No.
Mr. Wallace?
I can't understand this. We're willing to set, how much time we're gonna waste with it, and we're gonna basically get the same result.
Dude, the roll call is for the vote.
Well, yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
All right?
So also while we're at it, in this stack, there's, just to do things more formally and keep our file in order, we've got a task order for the work, and the only thing really in this, other than just telling them to proceed, is it sets the not to exceed value for the current work, that it has $10 million, and that's to continue on with all the debris removal work.
So there's a cap on that.
Yes. And
Okay.
it's all unit priced, it doesn't mean
Okay.
that's definitely what we're spending. But just for good business practices and through FEMA guidance, it's best to set a dollar threshold instead of leaving it totally open-ended.
We have to,
A motion to approve that task order would be great.
Could you, yeah.
FEMA requires all contracts to have a not to exceed limit.
Has everyone seen this?
Probably not. I didn't realize it
No.
wasn't coming into the meeting package.
And the purpose of this again, please?
It's really to implement the contract we approved. The contract is the general terms and the rates, and this is telling them, get started, and here's your maximum expenditure allowed.
Mayor, we haven't typically been bringing the notice to proceed to the council, because you guys award the contract, that gives us
Is that what?
authority. That's just the
Well, that
notice
didn't,
to,
I didn't
start
hear
the
word notice
contract.
to proceed.
That's what that is.
It's a combined task order and notice to proceed. It's the title of it.
Well, if that's what it is, if it's the notice to proceed, it just sets the dollar amount under which we are going to authorize expenditure, is that what, did I hear that right?
That's right. It's to carry out what's in that contract and what's in our scope for our RFP, but really what it's doing is setting the cap.
Okay, well, that's, I understand that, I didn't understand it the other way.
and you guys can let us know if you wanna see those going forward. It's tied to the contract, and when you guys approve the contract.
Well, it was, I wouldn't have even raised the question if it had been called a notice to proceed.
Do you want us to continue what we've been doing?
I'm fine with it,
Okay.
I'm fine with it. Linda, you made a motion, did
yeah,
you not?
that's fine, yeah, to
Okay.
accept the proceed.
Second,
Okay.
do we need
Why is this, I'm just.
So it's not just a notice to proceed. The contract didn't tell them what work to go do. It laid out a general scope. All right, here's missing a page. I didn't know we were gonna do this way. I apologize.
Why would we do it?
Because we were trying to get the contract signed today.
Yeah, we awarded it Friday a week ago.
Okay.
It had been under negotiation throughout the week, but
Okay. Well, I understand what the document is now. I did not understand that initially. I'm comfortable with the notice to proceed based on the agreement that we had with the contract.
so
I just wish that if, moving forward, we would be at least on the agenda for those types of things, if they're gonna be on there, that they be listed out.
I just wanna comment on that. Typically, once you guys approve it, you sign the contract, we move it forward. The reason we had to bring this one before you is we learned Friday, after the agenda went out, that we had those items, those price items. So we had to update the contract to add the price items. So that's why we're just letting you
Well, it's new to me too, and no matter the interpretation, it's, until I'm comfortable and ask those questions, it makes it, if we have to do it in this setting, that's the way we'll do it, but, okay, we have a motion, did I hear a second? You did?
let me add one thing before you vote. So I'm frustrated now, because the whole thing isn't here. So the page that describes the scope of work is missing. I'm just gonna read that for the record, and this will make more sense with this other page. It's 2 paragraphs. So this is the attachment 1 scope of work. This task order is limited to response efforts related to Hurricane Michael within the city of Mexico Beach. This task order excludes removal and disposal from waterways and demolition of structures. Any such work must be authorized by subsequent task order or an amendment to this task order. This task order does include debris removal from private property and private roads. That's the right of entry program. On a parcel by parcel basis is coordinated with and directed by the city administrator or the public works director. Except as limited above, contractor shall perform and may proceed with all services described by the agreement scope of services. This task order incorporates by reference contractor's management plan as submitted in tab 6 of its proposal. In response to the RFP, contractor shall at all times comply with any direction of the city administrator not to perform particular work or otherwise to reduce the scope of work under this task order. So here, this is why we're doing this instead of just the contract. The contract had a wide array of services, and we're actually not telling the contractor to go forward with every one of those. We've cut out a few tasks that we're still waiting on, we're not ready to move forward on.
All right, we have a motion second. Any comments? Is there any opposition to those recommend? That's what I'm gonna call it. Okay, motion carries 5-0. All right, Tanya, go ahead.
That's it, that's all I have.
Oh, you're through with Ms. Lane? Dina? Ms. Lane, any?
Just a heads up that we're going to start smoke testing as part of that contract. So again, Philip mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Residents may see smoke in the street or houses, so that's what it is. We've notified the fire department.
Fire department and the police have been notified.
What is? Is that all you get?
Yeah.
And if people see smoke,
Go ahead and call the fire department, go ahead and I'd rather you be safe than sorry.
All right, Phil, what you got?
Just an update real quick on the water side. We've got water on all streets but 30th, 37th, 42nd, Miramar and Circle Drive. 30th Street will be buttoned up today and on. We had to replace a fire hydrant down there. 37th Street, it's gonna take a while to get that one straightened out. Miramar and Circle Drive, once we locate a few of the meters that we still haven't been able to find yet, we try to get those buttoned up. We turned the water on once already, and people came running out of the houses along the canal there, screaming and hollering at us to turn it back off, so we turned it back off. Went back in there to try, obviously we missed some. So we're just trying to make sure that we get everything that we can find turned off before we charge it back up. But the main looks fine, the main held together, so. And as Dana said, smoke testing. We will be smoke testing. You will see smoke, you will see trucks running around on the south side over here, cleaning out sewer lines and manholes. That does not mean you can use the sewer yet though. So just be patient with us a little bit longer, please. We'll get there, I promise.
What are the trailers that are in here, how are they handling their waste?
They have to be self-contained.
And they know that?
Everybody that I've talked to knows that.
If they can't connect, they don't have sewer and water, they have to be self-contained.
April, you have anything?
we have Carol here for the presentation on,
Hey, Carol, come on in. Come on in.
Do you have
You
the
may grab
check?
that big one?
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll take a picture. Mayor, if you wanna stand and maybe we can talk a little bit about, Embara's, change in their mission to help Mexico Beach, and then we'll take some pictures for.
Great, I see it 25.
Here's the real check.
Right.
This is the publicity stunt here.
Sorry, hang
How
on.
about that?
Yep, that's
Great.
Right now, we have about $33,000 in our bank account, and we've got more coming whenever we get our PayPal disbursement, and people are still sending in the money.
We make sure for our city to MBARA, we thank you for what y'all did. That's been, I've had several people that are very pleased to know that they can go through that organization
Right.
because of your status.
We're just glad we were able to help. And I mean, we had people reaching out to us before, like Yeti Coolers, you know, they donated 64 coolers that we got distributed out to the pods and stuff, and, Just glad to be able to
Well,
help.
thank y'all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You got what you need, April?
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate it. Very, very much. I just get to pass that down.
Just hold on to this one for the next one.
Okay, that's good. Let's get to another 25.
And the funds that we have right now, you know, some people are donating to this specific projects, which I've been sending you and Adrian the list. These are funds that people said, use wherever you need it.
I hadn't got, you talking about the list of donators?
Yeah, that's that PDF spreadsheet I have sent. It tells where the different funds are going. I'm sure Adrian's looking over
Adrian,
it.
you
I
see it?
haven't seen
It's
it.
probably going to Kathy. Is that going to
I
Kathy?
think it is going to
Or
come.
volunteer.
We'll get it, but,
Okay, I've been sending it as an attachment, but
yeah.
I've done the report. But I'll make sure you
There's
have it.
many
If
emails
I need to,
coming
I'll put it in
through.
the body of the email.
Yes, so.
We just need it so we can, the city
Yes.
can recognize those donors.
Oh, yes,
Yes.
we're taking care of that. I have a list ready to go to April later today.
Yes, and so the key with this is that when people make a donation to our recovery, when they make it to Embara, they're 501c3, so that they can get that charitable contribution, and then as Mexico Beach needs money to do our federal match, because all of the millions of dollars that we're talking about, all of that has to be we have a local share that we have to match. This money is part of what will be used for that match. The city's been receiving some money directly, but also the money from Embara is very helpful and will continue to be helpful for a very long time, I would assume.
We hope so.
Good
We'll
job.
keep it going.
Thank you. April, what else? Or do you have anything else?
No, that's it. If folks have Congressman Dunn's office was here today. I don't think they had a whole lot of folks come out, but if you have questions or concerns you want to raise with the Congressman's office, they're very available, so, you can touch base with Bethany from their office.
Hey,
I do, actually. Water bills hit yesterday. There's a lot of beating up going on right now, so I just want to clarify a few things. Number one, I understand houses have been destroyed, and yes, you're getting a water bill because this is from September 21st through November 20th. There was usage before the storm that has been unbilled. That's why you got a bill now. I also understand that it was received yesterday and due on Thursday. We're flexible. With the chaos of the post-storm, it took us some time to get it out. We're not gonna late fee right away the 20th. You have time to get it in. So those are a few things that we've been beat up about in the past 24 hours. So just keep those in mind. For the council, for the public, you get a break from council meetings for 3 weeks. January 8th will be our next meeting here. And it's hard to believe it's Christmas with everything going on. City Hall's closed Monday and Tuesday, and also the following Tuesday for New Year's Day.
are we good, Tanya, with waiting till the 8th?
The only thing we have are the,
That's one thing I've got.
I mean, I know it's the holidays, but I mean, we got a lot going on, so I don't,
for a council meeting, I
Yeah.
think we're okay.
We're okay? If
If
that
we need a
changes, you
special
can
meeting,
let-
we'll let you
okay.
know, but I think we're okay.
Go ahead, Phil.
I'm sorry, Mayor.
no, no.
Adrian reminded me of it. For the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, I am shutting all operations down as far as water, sewer. Obviously, if we get a break, still call us, we'll come out. But for coming in and working those days, nobody's gonna be working. We're just shutting everything down, just people need a break.
What those days?
22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th, we'll all be back on the 26th.
Saturday to Wednesday.
Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay, is that for Christmas?
Yes, sir.
I mean, the weekend prior to the Christmas holidays?
Will we have garbage through that period? Picnics?
We'll be picked up Wednesday. I'm glad you said that.
26th.
26th. Wednesday and Thursday. Yeah.
It's not the bonus this year, so.
That's the question too,
Yeah,
that I've had several. Are we routine? That's
We
probably
are
a terrible
routine.
word, but in the condition we're
No,
in.
sir, it's perfect word.
Are we doing our sanitation, our garbage pickup Monday, Thursday?
Monday, Thursday, yes, sir.
Okay.
So for Christmas week, it'll be Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday for Christmas week. Then we'll be back for New Year's.
All right, Nick, you have anything?
I do not.
Police? Okay. Fire? Fire.
No, I mean, I think we've heard it, I've already had water thrown on my fire, so to speak. If you see smoke, doesn't matter where it's coming from, even if it's coming from the ground, and you're not sure what it is, just call us. there, you cannot make a mistake by calling 911 and reporting it. We will gladly come out, check it out, and hopefully it will just be filled blowing smoke in a pipe.
I like it.
I like it.
Nick, you have anything?
No idea.
I have one, and that's just, I just keep wondering about our moratorium deadline. And so I don't want it to go past the meeting and not ask, are we circling our wagons? Okay.
We are.
And I guess after the first of the year, we will have a schedule, a better schedule for the council.
For the P and Z, we do have those hearings already set, that was in your packet last week, but we'll send it out to you.
But the
again,
P and
those
Z,
dates. Those were council dates as well, in the last week's packet, to show you the dates for the transmittal hearings.
are those joint meetings?
No, we had both council and P and Z in that schedule, but we'll send
Okay,
it out to you again.
I didn't catch that.
Resuming the 7th of January, every single Monday at 6 PM, the P and Z meets, and every Tuesday, you're still gonna meet at 1.
I know, but I guess what I'm trying to, when will some of that start getting
You'll
to
see,
this-
you're gonna have a
this page?
transmittal on the 8th, your next meeting. You'll have a
You'll have
transmittal.
the comp plan.
Correct.
When will we start seeing results for the building codes and so forth?
You're gonna see that after the comp plan. Let me see if I have my schedule with me.
See either the following week or 2 weeks later.
Yeah, I
I'm
think
sure
it's the
that the
7th.
building code's on the schedule.
That's gonna be all part of the LDR.
It's not part of the LDR.
It's part of the LDR work.
We're getting close on those and people are gonna start getting anxious.
The timeline schedule we have has it completed by the moratorium deadline of February 8th. I think our final meeting's the end of January.
I'm sorry.
The moratorium deadline, I think we have is February 8th, and I
February
believe our final meeting is the last week of January. So we are on schedule, per the schedule that we wrote in the very beginning. Everything's still moving forward.
We'll send that, we'll email that out to you again today, Scott, those dates.
I guess in the back of my mind, when you say we're on schedule, how can we be on schedule if we don't know, if we, the council, don't get it soon enough for the 8th to understand what it is we're gonna be looking at?
You're gonna get it on the 8th, but you're not gonna vote on it on the 8th. I think that your transmittal hearing is the 17th, is it the 17th? I don't have that calendar with me, but you're not gonna vote on it on the 8th. You'll get the comp plan, they wrapped up the comp plan last night. You'll get that, she's supposed to have it ready Friday.
I'll be distributing it on the
We're gonna
26th.
email
So we'll have that
Yes.
along, is what I mean.
Yes,
we're
before
not gonna
the
walk in
8th.
here with a,
No, you're gonna
No.
get it a week from tomorrow, 26th. I'll have it out to everybody.
And then you will, she's supposed to have it ready this Friday. As soon as we get it, we'll send it out to you guys.
will that be,
You're not gonna vote on it on the 8th.
will that be part of the understanding what's gonna happen when the moratorium is lifted?
Yes, that will be part of it. Density, we've gotta update the comp plan before we can do the LDR.
Right.
So you're gonna see the bulk of it in the comp plan.
I'm looking at the schedule, I think is the correct schedule, it's the one that you emailed, we exchanged a few times. So, to clarify things, last night P and Z met. They, I believe, made their recommendation on the comp plan.
Correct.
So the comp plan is probably ready to share with the
Wednesday.
council.
We're having that by Friday.
Okay,
And
so
we'll send that.
the date on the calendar for this council's first potential vote on that comp plan is January 8th. So you'd have 2 weeks or so to review it and look at it. The LDR, separate process, is first hearing of this council is on the calendar for January 15th. Now, the reason why you don't have all that yet is I don't believe P and Z has made their final recommendations on the LDR.
Did it change?
It may have.
I think it's next agenda.
This is the
We'll
one
get
I-
that out to you, Mayor, after the meeting.
Okay.
But you, go ahead.
Comment?
I don't have anything.
This is the one I emailed Friday and asked for the change. Nobody.
Anyone here have any comments?
I have
Yes,
one.
go ahead, Dennis.
Dennis Foley from 100 Paradise Path, and also the owner of what used to be the mini storage facility next to the maintenance yard. On December 10th, I submitted a letter to the council regarding a very unique situation. I think we're all in unique situations, thanks to Michael. But this one, Michael instantly put me out of business, and now I reside on a vacant residential lot. I'm being assessed $2,800 for fire assessment. Where can we go with that? I definitely would request and hope consideration for relief.
You and I spoke about that, and has that been discussed?
Oh, we've had lots of discussions about it. It funds our fire department. That's how the budget is set based on those assessments. I've talked to some of you guys about after the first of the year revisiting that and seeing what you want to do or can do.
Yeah, so is that still what you consider the best course of action
I
is
think
to
right
wait
now,
until the first of the year and
you
look?
guys can discuss it.
I mean, there's
because
gonna be
it's-
other cases, I guess,
Mhm.
for lack of a better word,
For a property that's level, now vacant, there's a different rate that would apply for the upcoming year for a vacant
For
property.
the upcoming year.
Correct.
So-
Dennis, for me, as one member, I understand what you did a great job in your letter, first of all, thank you for the way it was laid out. Second, I think that is something that we need to address, and we had discussed that after the first of the year we would. And that will not affect your payment in terms, you're not gonna, as far as us waiting and trying to decide how to deal with that.
Well, should I go ahead and pay my tax? I like to pay my
Well, your
taxes.
taxes are separate from your fire.
Yeah, but the bill is one and the same. One is ad valorem, or
One's
ad
special.
valorem, and the other is non-ad valorem,
That's right.
which the fiscal year starts October 1st for the fire assessment. Well,
I think you gotta give us some time. I think you gotta give us to the first of the year, and if we make that should definitely be something that we discuss.
Do you want that on the agenda for the 8th, to start discussions?
What do y'all
on the
think?
8th?
Well, we gotta start, yeah, and there are going to be others.
All right, well, let's put that on there for our next January meeting, our first meeting of January.
thank you very much.
You got
Can
it.
I
Anyone
ask-
else?
But the bills we just got, that was from last year, right?
Those are due.
They're in arrears, yeah.
So we're all in the same boat, it's
So that
just
was
different
last
levels.
year's,
No, that was last year's taxes.
Last year's taxes.
It's
If you
the
didn't
current
pay-
year fire assessment.
Well, it can be, if they didn't pay last year's fire assessment, that's also on their tax bill. So they could have fire assessment for last year if they didn't pay it directly.
Yeah, for those that didn't pay,
And then
That's true.
assessment for 2019. So it just depends on the individual.
And simply put, the ad valorem is paid back, essentially. The non-ad valorem fire assessment is paid forward.
Is that my understanding? Because when I called over at the county, they kind of told me something different.
They said we paid it all in arrears, is what they told us.
I think the counties
We went and paid ours
probably
in
is gonna
person.
say pay it all because they don't have a way of taking it off.
So nobody really
Well, I don't know what the county told you.
I don't know.
It's clear that the taxes are paid on the assessment of last year.
So if we already paid it, we can go to the county and ask for a refund?
The fire is assessed on last year, you're
What was
paying it
existing
this
at the
year.
time you passed the assessment? What existed on that property the day the assessment was?
So I was supposed to pay it.
So we are supposed to pay.
Anyone, any other questions? Anybody, last call, motion for adjournment?
I have one,
Oh.
I just have one.
All right.
If you take the fire assessment off for one person, do you not have to take it off for all? And what will that do to the city?
That's
Won't have a department.
I mean, that.
This is
let's
part of the
consider-
discussion
Right, but let's just,
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
that
right.
legally
Yeah.
you could can you legally, case by case, forgive it and not
Yeah, I
consider?
think Michael's created a case by case.
Really?
Oh,
Because I don't know
I
about.
think
I don't
Michael
know.
has.
Because we have vacant lots.
But we're saying if it was last year.
We're gonna talk about it
Anyway,
in
that's just-
January.
Yeah.
That's
That's what
just
we're
a
gonna do.
thought, just a thought.
Just one
It's a lot
final
of money the
addition.
city's got.
I just want to emphasize that that was a commercial endeavor, but it was non-conforming and was actually a residential lot. So mine is a unique situation.
So that was before the hurricane, you mean it wasn't confirmed?
It's been a residential lot since 1989. I challenged it in 1995 and got shot down.
And I think we all understand where you're coming from, but there are many of us in the same boat on a different financial level. Rex has no home, I don't have a home, so.
We're gonna bring it up, put it on the
Right.
agenda on January the 8th. That'll be when we'll have a chance to look at that situation, see what we wanna do. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Dina and Tammy, can I have probably 2 minutes? I got to go.
Second.
Thank you.
If you needed a second.
What do you think?
I'll go back.
Some of the people aren't gonna pay it.
Philip, is this your copy? You gave this
There's
to
a
us?
difference in.
No, it's missing a page.
Jerry, don't forget this, and Al forgot his already.
It's a bill for the county.
It's on our
Yeah, that's
Hey, Andy, take this.
Can we do
Jerry,
anything?
take this home to Diane. Here, Al. Congratulations.
But I'm gonna blow it up just to short it.
Have a good Christmas,
We
Nick.
never-
Government, this is a good one.
Last year